Mr. Deputy Mayor, we're live.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Clerk, and welcome everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order and welcome the members of the gallery. The Township of Oro-Medonte, excuse me, acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people and ancestral territory of the Huron-Wendat. The Anishinaabe include the Ottawa, the Ojibwe, and the Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. It continues today as the home for Indigenous peoples, including the historic Métis community in Penetanguishene. The Anishinaabe people continue to have an enduring relationship with this land, specifically the Chippewas of the Rama First Nation, the Chippewa Tri-Council, and the Williams Treaties First Nations. The Huron-Wendat Nation also continues to pay respect and protect their ancestors and heritage on this land. We honor the Indigenous history and culture that has thrived for millennia in this territory and the treaties that bind us together as partners in the spirit of a shared, sustainable, and prosperous future. We are all treaty people. Our commitment begins with acknowledging the truth so we can move forward towards reconciliation. Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to say that Councillor Bard sends his extreme regrets. He's on vacation, so they're not too extreme. And so tonight we do have a quorum, so we will proceed. May we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Moved by Clark, seconded by Hutchinson. It is recommended that the agenda for the Development Services Committee meeting of Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023 be received and approved.
All in favor? Motion carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. May we have a motion to approve the minutes of the previous Development Services Committee meeting?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Greenlaw. It is recommended that the draft minutes of the Development Services Committee meeting held on Wednesday, July 5th, 2023 be received and approved as printed and circulated.
Members of council, are there any changes? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? Motion carried. So with that, we move on to the public meetings. And for the purpose of the public meetings, I'll explain the process. Each application, whether a meeting or a hearing, will be considered separately. The staff will advise of the purpose and effect of the application, provide any relevant information, note any correspondence that has been received to date, and advise of any statement received from the applicant, or if the applicant intends to make a representation. If so, the applicant will then be given the opportunity to make a brief presentation. After the presentation, any members of the public who have been registered to provide comments or in the audience will be given the opportunity to speak to the application being considered. The Deputy Clerk will advise of those who have registered, and finally, staff will confirm if any further correspondence has been received during the public hearing. There will be a separate statement to be read at the start of each scheduled public meeting and hearing. With that, we'll move on to agenda item 5A. Notice of receipt of a complete application. Notice of particulars. Sorry, I'll go from this document here. A zoning bylaw amendment application 2023 ZBA 11, application Smitham Homes Incorporated, located at 4552 Line 5 North. This public meeting is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the proposed application by Smitham Homes Inc. on lands municipally known as 4552 Line 5 North. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the proposed application. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been any correspondence received on this matter?
Yes, correspondence from the Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division, July 14, Enbridge Gas, July 24, and County of Simcoe Planning Department, July 25th, 2023.
I'll now turn the meeting over to Danielle Waters, who will explain the purpose and effect of the proposed application and any written statement received from the applicant. Ms. Waters, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. This is zoning bylaw amendment application 2023 ZBA 11 for 4552 line 5 north. The zoning is agricultural rural exception 96. The 96 exception is to do with the closed waste disposal site behind the property. So there's several properties within, I think, a couple 100-meter radius of the closed site that is required to go through special requirements to ensure that there is no leftover waste, etc., for water tables, etc. The official plan designation is agricultural. Current use is residential vacant. Next slide. So the purpose and effect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is to rezone the property from agricultural rural exception 96 to agricultural rural with a different exception for the purpose of building a single detached dwelling on the property. Here we can see the aerial photo of the property. Close to the rear of the property is an existing dwelling, and I believe there was a detached accessory building as well that have been removed from the property. Next slide. And the existing zoning agricultural rural in the yellow, and then we can see the dark brown is where the closed waste landfill was, and all of the properties around it with that exception 96. The official plan for the current township is agricultural with environmental protection 2. The adopted official plan is agriculture, and the county official plan is agricultural. Here we can see the applicant's proposed site plan, so a dwelling with an attached garage and a deck, as well as a septic. Next slide. The elevation drawings and the floor plan of the proposed structure. And some site photos, so north and south on line 5, as well as the notice sign that was posted on the fence. And just some photos of the vacant lot, not too much to see there. And so this concludes my presentation. There's no decision to be made tonight. And we're just looking to receive any public comments. Again, the exception 96 is requiring a D4 study. That D4 study has been submitted and circulated to the County of Simcoe, who are the ones to do the peer review. And so we have received comments from them that they will be doing the peer review. However, they don't have that done yet. So I'm here to answer any questions you have.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone, the applicant or agent of the applicant, prepared to speak to this matter?
The staff did not receive any registrations from the applicant.
Okay, thank you very much. Does the committee have any comments or questions? No, seeing none. Okay. Are there any members of the public registered to speak other than the agent of the owner?
Staff did not receive any additional registrations from the public.
Okay, and did we receive any communication on the matter from the public?
No, Mr. Deputy Mayor, no other communications came in during the public meeting.
Okay. And there were none prior to the meeting? No.
The correspondence that was received prior to the meeting were from the Operations Division. Oh, sorry, my apologies. Were from the Operations Division and Enbridge Gas and the County of Simcoe Planning Department, and they had been previously circulated to the members of the committee.
Okay, thank you very much. And is there anyone in the audience no, thank you very much. No one seeing none. Any further comments from the committee? No, seeing none. All right, thank you very much. Committee wishes to thank staff for its participation in this submission and the oral comments during the meeting, which will be considered further on when we do have a hearing. A copy of the decision was made to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comments during the hearing in regards to the application. Thank you. We'll move on to the next agenda item, 6A, which is a public hearing. Application 2023A29, Lori Hetola, municipal address 207 line 3 North. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the proposed application by Lori Hetola on lands municipally known as 207 line 3 North. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the proposed application. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been any correspondence received on this matter?
Yes, correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division, July 13, and Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, dated July 20, 2023.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to Danielle Waters, planner, who will explain the purpose and effect of the proposed application and any written statement received from the applicant. Ms. Waters, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So this is minor variance application 2023-A29 for 207 line 3 North. The zoning is rural residential 2 and environmental protection. Official plan designation as agricultural, and the current use is residential. So the applicant is seeking relief for a detached accessory building that has been constructed within the setback to the environmental protection zone. They are looking for a setback of 17 meters. Next slide. Here we can see the aerial photo. All of the buildings are to the north side of the property there. Next slide. The zoning on the property, so the agricultural rural in the dark yellow, and then the environmental protection in the green, which has to do with a creek that is running through the property. Next slide. So the official plan designations, the current township official plan zoned agricultural, adopted official plan, and the county official plan are also agricultural. So here's the applicant's site plan. So they did have a previous minor variance approved for an addition to the dwelling. We can see that highlighted there in 2020, which was also for setback from the environmental protection zone, as well as to be built within the environmental protection zone. And then just an arrow to the structure subject to this application, which has been constructed, and they are seeking relief from that setback to the environmental protection zone as well. The elevation drawings for the structure. and some site photos, so north and south on line 3, as well as the notice sign posted. The existing dwelling, and then to the, I guess the right side is the started construction for that addition that was previously approved. A shed in the middle there, and then to the farther back in the property, an additional detached structure. And the structure that is subject to the variance here that requires the reduced setback. Sorry, Derek, if we can go back one slide here. So the structure in the middle there that does look relatively new. There was an existing structure that was there that was rebuilt on the same foundation, so it does not require an additional variance. Next slide. So yeah, so the subject structure. Next slide. And so recommendation is for approval. We have received comments from NVCA that require a permit, as well as rectifying some non-compliance on the property, and then the standard conditions for a detached structure in there. And I'm here to answer any questions. I believe that the applicant is here, and possibly the agent if they have anything to add.
Thank you very much, Ms. Waters. Now ask the applicant, Laura Atola, who's registered to speak to the application, if she wishes to provide any comments or indicate if you have anything further to add to the staff presentation. Ms. Atola?
I'm just available to answer any questions if needed.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Committee members, do you have any questions with regard to this application? Seeing none. Madam Deputy Clerk, is there anyone else registered to speak with regard to this application, either on Zoom or present?
Staff did not receive any additional registrations, but if you would still like to check to see if there's anyone in the audience, thank you.
Will do. Thank you. Anyone present in the gallery? No, seeing none. Okay, with that, we move on to whether or not there's been any communication received during the course of this hearing.
There have been none.
Thank you very much, Director Whitlib. May we now hear the motion?
Moved by Young, seconded by Clark. It is recommended, one, that DS 2023-65, Danielle Waters, planner, minor variance application 2023-829, Lori and Kyle Hitola, 207 Line 3 North, be received and adopted. 2, that minor variance application 2023-829, specifically for permission to legalize an existing detached accessory building with a reduced setback from the environmental protection zone of 17 meters, 55.7 feet, on the lands municipally known as 207 Line 3 North, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved, subject to the conditions outlined in DS 2023-65. 3, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the committee with regard to the motion? Seeing none. All those in favor? The motion is passed. This completes the application process and closes the hearing. Please enjoy your new accessory building. The committee wishes to thank everyone for their participation in this matter, and a copy of the decision will be mailed out to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comments during the hearing. Thank you. On to item 6B. It's an application 2023A30. Applicant is Janine Lakai, 1429 Moonstone Road West. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the proposed application by Janine Lakai on lands municipally known as 1429 Moonstone Road West. Please be advised this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the proposed application. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been any correspondence received on this matter?
Correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division dated July 13 and 14, 2023, and Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority dated July 14, 2023.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to Catherine McCarroll, Intermediate Planner, who will explain the purpose and effect of the proposed application and any written statement received from the applicant. Ms. McCarroll, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. The property is located at 1429 Moonstone Road West. The property is zoned agricultural, rural, and environmental protection, and it's designated rural and environmental protection 2 in the township's existing official plan, and it's designated rural and greenlands in the township's adopted official plan. The current use of the property is agricultural and residential. Next slide. So the applicant is proposing to build an addition to the existing detached accessory building, which will be used as an apartment. So the applicant is seeking relief from section 5.1.1, uses permitted in detached accessory buildings. So accessory buildings are not permitted to be used for human habitation, but this one is proposed to contain an apartment. Section 5.4, apartments are only permitted in single detached dwellings, but the applicant is proposing to have the apartment in a detached accessory building. And then section 5.4C, maximum floor area for the apartment dwelling unit to be increased from 70 square meters to 83.6 square meters. Next slide. So this is an aerial photo of the property. So there is a cluster of buildings that's located at the north end of the property near Moonstone Road West. So that includes the dwelling, the existing detached accessory building. There's quite a few agricultural buildings and a number of sheds. Next slide. So this map shows the existing zoning of the property, which is agricultural rural, which is the cream color. And then in green, it's environmental protection. And the EP zone serves as a boundary around a water course. Next slide. So the property is designated rural and environmental protection 2 in the township's existing official plan, which is illustrated on the left-hand side. And then the property is designated rural and greenlands in both the township adopted official plan and the county official plan, which are both in the middle map and the map on the right-hand side. Next slide. So this map shows Schedule B natural heritage features in the township's existing official plan. So the area that has those green dots, that's an area that's identified to be a significant woodland. And I just want to point out that in the township adopted official plan, that woodland area is slightly different, and it is actually to the north of Moonstone Road West. Next slide. So this is the applicant's site plan. So it's a little difficult to read just because the property is so large, but the addition is that black box at the end of the arrow, and that's next to the existing detached accessory building. The dwelling is just to the left of that, and then all the other structures around are either agricultural buildings or there's a number of small sheds. Next slide. So these are the applicant's elevation drawings. So the addition is the darker area, and the existing building is the area that's lighter and grayed out. So as you can see here, it's proposed to be a one-story addition. Next slide. So this is the applicant's floor plan for the apartment. They have requested a slightly larger floor area than what's typically permitted in the zoning bylaw, but it still remains smaller than the existing dwelling. Next slide. So these are the views looking both east and west along Moonstone Road West. Next slide. And this is a photo of the public notice sign that was posted along the road. And next slide. So the photo on the left shows one of the existing agricultural buildings that's on the property, and then the photo on the right shows the existing single detached dwelling. Next slide. So these photos show the agricultural use that's on the property, which includes livestock, but the minimum distance separation requirements do not apply when the proposed development is on the same property as the livestock. Next slide. So these photos show the existing detached accessory building. So the photo on the left shows the side view of the accessory building, side meaning when you're looking from the road, it's the side of the structure. And that's where they're proposing to put the addition, which is on the existing gravel driveway. Next slide. So the photo on the left shows the significant woodland that's just to the north of Moonstone Road West. So I did not flag an environmental impact study for a few reasons. One was because the development is more than 50 meters from the woodland. And they're proposing to build the addition on the existing driveway, so they won't actually be removing any trees at all for the proposed development. And then the photo on the right, thanks. The photo on the right shows the view of the accessory building from the road. So the apartment is not proposed to have any impacts on any of the neighboring properties. Next slide. So it's recommended that minor variance application 2023-A30 be approved as the application meets the 4 tests of the Planning Act and conforms or is consistent with the applicable provincial, county, and township planning policies, and it represents good planning. So all the recommended conditions are listed here on this slide. They're all standard conditions, and I am available if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. McCarroll. I now ask Agent Diana Fior, who is registered to speak to the application, if she wishes to provide any comment or indicate anything further to the staff report. Ms. Fior?
The agent on behalf of the applicant had registered to present via Zoom, but I do not see her in the waiting room. We also had the applicant registered if she's in the audience.
Okay. Would you be available for any questions should they arise? Okay, thank you very much. Did you wish to make a statement? No, I was just here to observe. Yes. Okay, thank you very much. The owner has declined to comment at the present, but is available for questions. Members of the committee, do you have any questions? Yes, Councillor Young.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just want to draw your attention to the condition 3C. It indicates that the detached accessory building shall not be used for commercial purposes, and I emphasize commercial purposes. Perhaps Ms. McCarroll or Derek can answer that question. Is that pretty much a standard condition on accessory buildings, or is it can it be used in other areas?
So through you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie, to Councillor Young. So that's a standard condition. So usually the condition states that the detached accessory buildings shall not be used for human habitation, commercial purposes, or for a home industry. But in this case, since their minor variance was to permit an apartment in it, I removed the for human habitation, which means it's only left with not to be used for commercial purposes or for a home industry.
Okay, thank you. I make reference to the commercial condition in there in reference to the next one forthcoming, the next hearing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor. Any other comments, questions? Okay, seeing none. Madam Deputy Clerk, is there anyone else from the public registered to speak from Zoom or present?
Staff did not receive any additional registrations.
Okay, and is there anyone other than the property owner here who wishes to speak to this matter? Okay, seeing no one, thank you very much. I think it's,
Mr. Deputy Mayor, my apologies.
Yes.
I just see the agent in
Oh.
the waiting room right now. If the committee would like to advance her in for any additional question or any additional comments.
do you have, I'll just ask the committee, do you have any questions or comments for the agent? Ms. Fior? No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for attending, Ms. Fior. We're near the end of this hearing. And with that, is there anything else from the committee itself with regard to the matter? Seeing none, may we hear the motion, please, Madam Deputy Clerk?
Moved by Clark, seconded by Young. It is recommended, one, that DS 2023-62, Catherine McCarroll, Intermediate Planner, minor variance application 2023-A30, Janine Lecali, 1429 Moonstone Road West, be received and adopted. Two, that minor variance application 2023-A30, specifically for permission to build an addition to the existing detached accessory building for the purposes of creating an accessory dwelling unit with an increased floor area of 83.6 square meters, 900 square feet, on lands municipally known as 1429 Moonstone Road West, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2023-062. 3, that the applicant be advised of the committee's decision under the Secretary Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much. All those in favor? The motion is carried. This completes the application process and closes this hearing. Please enjoy your new accessory building. Thank you. The committee wishes to thank everyone for their participation, and a copy of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comments during the hearing with regard to this matter. With that, we move on to item 6C, application 2023-A31, Jill Wagman of 9 Moon Point Drive. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the proposed application by Jill Wagman on lands municipally known as 19 Moon Point Drive. Please be advised that the hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the proposed application. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been any correspondence received on this matter?
Correspondence received from Hiawatha First Nation dated July 14, Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division, July 17, and Karen Baldock and Jeff Waters dated July 26, 2023.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to Danielle Waters, planner, who will explain the purpose and effect of the proposed application and any written statement received from the applicant. Ms. Waters, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So this is minor variance application 2023-A31 for 19 Moon Point Drive. The zoning is shoreline residential exception 2.
Excuse me for one moment, please, Ms. Waters. Yep. Could you speak a little louder or perhaps move closer to the microphone? There's some difficulty hearing it.
Can you hear me a bit better now?
That is excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So it's for 19 Moon Point Drive. The zoning is shoreline residential exception 2. Official plan designation is shoreline, and the current use is residential. So the applicant is proposing to construct a new detached dwelling. It'll be replacing the existing one, but adding a second story. And they're looking to keep the existing setback to the front lot line. However, they will be increasing the floor area as it will be 2 stories within that required setback. So the current setback is 3.29 meters, and they are looking to keep that same setback. However, it will be 2 stories. Next slide. Here we can see the aerial photo. I just want to kind of keep in mind, if you can take a look just at the lot lines there a bit. The lot line on the right-hand side is where the subject, the garage, that it has that reduced front yard. Just that there's a little kind of almost like a jog in the lot line there that kind of goes more to the east, I guess. And that'll kind of be a little bit more clear on the site plans as well. Next slide. The existing zoning for the property, so shoreline residential, exception 2. And the official plan designations is shoreline in the current and adopted official plan and rural in the county official plan. So here we can see the existing site plan and the proposed site plan. The red dotted line close to the top, I guess, of the site plan shows where the existing garage is and where the proposed garage is. So it'll be pretty much the exact same size there, just that it'll be the 2 stories in that location there. Next slide, perfect. And then this is just kind of a side view, so you can see how that garage in that front yard will look, the attached garage. North and south on Moon Point Drive. I guess on the left photo here, we can see that the driveway is actually the driveway into the neighboring property. And then the middle photo here where the notice sign is posted, you can see both driveways. The neighboring property, they have an easement over for that driveway. So that's it's a little bit weird in the location as to where the driveways are. Next slide. Here we can see the existing dwelling. So the photo on the left, you can see where I'm standing on the road. You can see where the driveway to the property on the left goes through in front of that garage on the subject property. And we received comments from that neighbor. They are supportive of the application, as if the owner was to meet the setback, they would be closer to the water and would obstruct more of their view. So they are supportive of it staying closer to the front. And then just a rear yard shot of the dwelling. Next slide. And then just a couple more photos of that existing garage that will be 2 stories. Next slide. And so so I've recommended approval. We have not yet received comments from LSRCA. However, a couple things, the area of the variance is not regulated as it's close to the front portion of the property. So if, at any point they were to do, they wouldn't need a permit essentially for that front part. However, they are redoing the entire house, so they will need permits from them, as well as engineered lot grading, which would include requirement for silt fences and things like that. And I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you very much, Ms. Waters. I've now asked the agent, Jessica McDonald, who is registered to speak, whether she has any additional comments or anything further to indicate with regard to the staff presentation. Please step forward, Ms. McDonald, and state your name.
Good evening. I'm
Thank
Jessica
you.
McDonald, as you said. And I'd just like to reiterate, Danielle's presentation was great, but we are closer to the front lot line there in order to not impede the neighbors' views from their sides of their property, and also to fit the septic system in with the required setback from the lake shore. So, and I can answer any additional questions that you may have. So,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Any comments, questions from the committee? Please, Councillor Schell.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Lavoie. Through you to Ms. Waters. Front yard, rear yard setbacks on waterfront. Can you define that for me, please?
Yes, so the front yard is the roadside and the rear yard is the water lakeside.
Okay, thank you. So I notice on your first map, there's a red dotted line over the property. Could you throw that up on the screen for us, please?
If the committee will bear with me, I'll bring back the staff presentation.
Thank you. My question is, while that's coming up, is that red dotted line the setbacks?
Yes, those are the required setbacks.
So in my view, I could see that the existing property already extends beyond the setbacks closer to the road.
Correct. So they're looking to rebuild what's there and maintain that existing setback. However, because they are going up an additional story, they'll be increasing the square footage within that setback. So they need the variance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Young?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I don't have a problem approving this, but as I spoke to the previous one regarding the condition, that being that that the detached accessory building shall not be used for commercial purposes. And I'm just going to throw this on the floor in a minute here, but we all are well aware of the short-term rentals that are operating on Lakeshore Road and at including Moon Point. And my concern, as it is with everyone on this council, as to more short-term rentals or short-term accommodations operating, and it's my information that from Lakeshore that there's actually one or more residences that were built specifically to operate as a short-term rental. That information came from somebody down there, and at least two people. But this perhaps is a question for Derek, and we can just perhaps discuss it and get your comments back on it, whether or not that condition in the previous Ginny Lacau should be a condition that the detached accessory or the detached residence shall not be used for commercial purposes. And of course, we have a bylaw in place currently that prohibits businesses from operating in residential areas, but whether or not that should be considered, that's all I'm suggesting, be considered that as a condition of approval, that it's not to be operated as a commercial entity or business. And I'll ask Derek that. Derek, what are your thoughts on that as a condition of approval?
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Young. So as Ms. McCarroll described, we do use this type of condition in a standard way, typically when dealing with variances for accessory buildings. And that condition speaks to typically that the building shall not be used for commercial purposes, a home occupation, or human habitation. Some of those reiterate already what's prohibited by the zoning bylaw. For example, in the case of an accessory building, the zoning bylaw already does not permit human habitation. Some of those other statements, though, add an additional restriction. For example, the reference to shall not be used for a home occupation. The zoning bylaw does in fact allow portions of home occupations to be used in accessory buildings for those purposes. However, if that's not the application that's presented through the public hearing process, then we use that to provide clarity in terms of what the use is going to be down the road. Similarly, when we say shall not be used for commercial purposes in general, because that wasn't part of the application, it just provides clarity to the public, to the applicant, the owner, and forms part of the decision in terms of what the committee is approving is the use that's the form of development and the use that's before them. So long way of saying In terms of what Councillor Young has suggested, we haven't seen that applied in that way, but I don't see any reason why it couldn't be applied again to provide clarity in terms of the decision being made by the committee and the conditions under which it's being made.
Okay, thank you, Derek. I appreciate all of that. I'll just throw it on the floor if anybody wants to comment on it, or it's a consideration, so it's just open.
Yeah, so I gather from that that you are suggesting perhaps there be an amendment to the motion with regard to adding a condition with respect to non-commerciality of the new building structure in a residential zone.
Yeah, my concern is whether it's necessary in light of the condition that it's to comply with the current bylaw in place, sort of thing. So it's something that it's just another step towards eliminating short-term rentals, and whether or not the rest of the council here agrees with it or believe that the current bylaw is sufficient. But as Derek just mentioned, it's clarity that it shall not be operated for commercial purposes, and so.
Okay, yeah. Subject to any recusals on the matter, Councillor Schell.
Yes, thank you. If you go to that extent with this, I have to excuse myself.
Okay. Thank you. We'll, if you wouldn't mind, and then we'll call you back once we've concluded this portion of the discussion.
Does that mean you are going to present
well,
this?
We're going to be discussing it. Madam, Mr. Mayor, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. I think just to bring clarity to this, from the design that I see on my screen, they're building the housing over top of their existing garage. So it's not a separate unit. It's actually attached to the house, and there's flow of use from within the. Once you come in the main doors, you have access up there. It's not a separate. It's different. I understand where Councillor Young is going, but it is an attached garage to a residential use versus a separate accessory building with living quarters over top. So I think what they are proposing here is simply to make the footprint of that house's living quarters extended over top of the garage. And I guess if you would like to provide clarity, that'd be fantastic.
Yes, that is the intent. This is to be the residents' primary residence when they rebuild, and it is simply their own living space extending above the garage. No intent for accessory apartments or dwellings within this home. Yeah. And they are here in attendance as well, and they wouldn't like to be treated any differently than any of the other applications that have already gone forward or previously.
Oh, thank you. And I think Councillor Young, all I'm trying to do is establish clarity that it's not a separate accessory building with living quarters over top. It's actually all attached to one main dwelling unit, and it's not like there's a separate entrance that is divided from the living quarters.
Yeah, thank you. The applicants are here, and this is at 19 Moon Point Drive, so they know why then living there, and there are short-term rentals up there, short-term, and the problems that they incur, the noisy parties, the additional traffic, the bonfires, and so I'm sure that they understand why I suggested or put that on the floor for consideration. So again, I don't have a problem proving this as is, but it's just something that for future consideration, perhaps the planning, whatever, that it should be perhaps part of a condition of approval by us. But again, the applicants are here and they're well aware of why I suggested that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor. Is there any other commentary from any other members of the committee? Okay, seeing none. Do the owners wish to speak to this matter directly? Okay. Okay, so the answer is no. Okay, so thank you very much. Madam Deputy Clerk, yes?
I just didn't know if you would like the applicants to come to the podium to make their statement, Mr. Deputy Mayor?
Well, I think they don't want to make a statement,
Okay.
as I interpret it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And okay, so having said that, my own commentary would simply be that I don't think we need to add another layer to what's currently an existing zoning bylaw that prohibits commercial use of residential properties, which is a position that the Township Council and staff have already taken, both publicly on our website and legally. So I'm not certain that it would provide much benefit to add something to a otherwise normal minor variance and make this stand out as something different or create further difficulties for all the parties. So with that, I think if there's anyone else from the public registered to speak.
No, staff did not receive any additional registrations.
Okay, and there's no one here in the gallery. Okay, thank you very much. With that, then I think if we could hear the motion, please.
Moved by Hutchinson, seconded by Young, it is recommended that DS 2023-066 Danielle Waters, Planner, Minor Variance Application 2023-A31, Jill Wagman, 19 Moon Point Drive, be received and adopted. 2, that minor variance application 2023-A31, specifically for purposes of constructing a new single detached dwelling to replace the existing dwelling and to maintain the existing front yard setback to the northwest corner of the garage of 3.29 meters, 10.79 feet, and to increase the floor area of the dwelling in the required front yard from 1 story to 2 stories on lands municipally known as 19 Moon Point Drive, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2023-066. 3, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Clerk. Are there any questions or comments with respect to the draft motion? Seeing none. All those in favor? The motion is carried. This completes the application process and closes this hearing, and please enjoy the construction process. It's lengthy and quite difficult at times. Anyway, so thank you very much. The committee wishes to thank everyone in attendance for their comments and participation, and a copy of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted verbal or written commentary. Thank you very much. Good evening. So that closes the public hearings portion of tonight's committee meeting. Reports from municipal officers. I'd like to, we have report DS 2023-063, Catherine McCarroll, intermediate planner, zoning bylaw amendment application 2023 ZBA 10, and consent applications 2023B09 and 2023B10, Eric Dykstra, 112 Lakeshore Road West and 35 Shellswell Boulevard. I understand that there's been more recent communication received from the applicant. Catherine, could you please provide us with an update?
Yes, so we received a request from the agent asking that the applications be deferred to give them additional time to review the conditions of consent. So I had talked to the agent last week about the conditions, and there were a number of emails back and forth this week. So there's several conditions that the agent wants cleared and removed from the decisions. So I'll continue discussing those conditions with the agent to try and get everything resolved. So for now, today's recommendation is that the applications be deferred to a future meeting at the request of the applicant. But I am still available if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Ms. McCarroll? Okay, seeing none. Oh, excuse me, we do have one from the mayor. Your worship, please.
Thank you, Deputy. So, Ms. McCarroll, sorry, Ms. McCarroll, the conditions will come back before approval. You'll identify the changes when you come back with a report from what, is it the builder or the property owner that's looking to have the conditions removed?
So through you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie to Mayor Greenlaw. So it's their planning consultant that I've been dealing with. So we've been doing a lot of back and forth on it. So I'm not too sure how many conditions will actually change, or if it's just a matter of trying to explain why we have some of those conditions in place. But any changes will be made prior to bringing it back to the committee.
Okay, but the request for the reduction or changes in conditions are from the property owner?
So it's through the planning consultant.
Yes.
So the owner is copied on each email, but it's actually the planning consultant I've been dealing with.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Ms. McCarroll. May we please have the motion on the deferral, please?
Moved by Hutchinson, seconded by Clark. It is recommended that zoning bylaw amendment application 2023 ZBA 10 and consent applications 2023 B09 and 2023 B10, Eric Dykstra, 112 Lakeshore Road West and 35 Shellswell Boulevard, be deferred to a future meeting at the request of the applicant.
All in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Report DS 2023-064, Andy Karaskakis, former senior planner and now presently manager of development services. Congratulations, Mr. Karaskakis. Township of Oro-Medonte adopted official plan, proposed modifications by the county of Simcoe. May we please have a motion for item 7B?
Moved by Hutchinson, seconded by Clark. It is recommended, one, that DS 2023-064, Andy Karaskakis, Manager of Planning Services, read Township of Oro-Medonte adopted official plan, proposed modifications by the County of Simcoe be received and adopted. 2, that the Development Services Committee accept the modifications to the adopted official plan as provided in DS 2023-064 and its appendices.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions from members of the committee? Seeing none. You ready? All those in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Karaskakis. You got out of that very lightly. Communication, correspondence dated July 27th, 2023 from Doug Humphreys, a request for reimbursement, minor variance application 2023A28, Big Cedar, in parentheses, Oro Residents Association, in parentheses, Angus McDonald, 4044 line 13 north, in parentheses 25 Maple Crescent. May we please have a motion for item 8A?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Hutchinson. It is recommended, 1, that the correspondence dated July 27, 2023 from Doug Humphreys, request for reimbursement, minor variance application 2023-A28, Big Cedar Oro Residents Associations, Angus McDonald, 4044, line 13 North, 25 Maple Crescent, be received. 2, that the request for reimbursement in the amount of blank be either approved / respectfully denied. 3, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Director of Development Services signature.
Director Whitlib, would you like to provide any comments on this proposed motion?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the committee. As you know, Big Cedar, it's a modular home community. Its existence predates the township zoning bylaw. When township zoning bylaw 9795 was passed in 1997, it, among other things, identified environmental protection zones in the township, and that mapping would have been based on available information and available provincial or conservation authority mapping that was in existence at the time. Over the course of the various variances that we've seen in the Big Cedar community, and we see things like extensions to carports, front porches, sunrooms. There's been over the years a consistent, fairly consistent pattern of the relevant agency, the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, having no objection or no concerns with those variances, which seems to indicate that if that mapping was reviewed today, there's the potential that much less of the property might be covered by that environmental protection zone. So as further background, during the previous term of council, the township did receive a number of requests. I'm going to guess somewhere between 4 and 7 by the applicants, various applicants requesting refund of their minor variance application fees on the basis that the presence of the environmental protection zone, albeit again based on what was known in 97, but that it's present currently perhaps maybe based on an error in mapping, and that those properties are not in fact constrained by hazard or natural heritage limitations. So during the previous term of council, those various requests were granted and refunds were granted to applicants. So to be clear, everybody, including the application that's the subject of the letter today, had paid their application fees up front as required, and then subsequently made requests to council for a refund, and that's what's before the committee today.
Okay, thank you very much. To the mover or the seconder, what do you have a recommendation with regard to this? Do you have any comment? No? Okay.
Well, like, what we're deciding are to accept the deduction or not, correct?
Yes, just. Do we have any questions or comments from member of council, a member of the committee? Please, Councillor Young.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Derek, where's the 750? Is that the NVCA or is it from us? Because I understand the NVCA charges about $500 now, as opposed to less than that.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Young, the request before you and the only authority before you is with respect to the township application fee of $700. Staff aren't aware if the applicant or the agent has made a similar request to the NVCA. Can't speak to that.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hutchison this time, please.
Thanks for getting it right. Thank you. Through you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie, to Mr. Whitlib. Is there a a mechanism for us to avoid this in the future, other than having the mapping changed?
Through the chair to Councillor Hutchinson, the mechanism is to have the mapping change, and that mechanism specifically is the upcoming project of updating the township's zoning bylaw. I think that project was anticipated that perhaps it would be more advanced than it is currently. It has not been commenced yet. It's been, among other things, awaiting the completion of the official plan update, so that then we could consider a new zoning bylaw that conforms to and fully implements the official plan. So it's queued up, and there'll be a future staff report before this committee, but that would be the solution, where we would anticipate that I wouldn't say there'd be an elimination of an environmental protection zone. There are natural features on the property, but I think it's fair to say that staff would anticipate that the environmental protection zone would be smaller than it is today, and would capture fewer, if any, of the dwellings on the property.
Thank you very much, Director Whitlibb. Any further comments, questions? Yes, Mr. Mayor, please.
Thank you, Deputy Lavoie. So Derek, there are two application fees for this property, one to the NVCA and one to us. So if it wasn't within the NVCA mapping, would they still have to pay the township application fee?
Correct. And so through the chair to Mayor Greenlaw, the variance is to the township's zoning bylaw. So there is a township imposed environmental protection zone on the property. There are also NVCA regulated areas on the property, but so the answer is yes, they would still be paying a fee to the township, because it is to the variance to the township zoning bylaw that's being requested.
And the $700 fee, would it have covered the staff time in processing the application?
So through the chair to Mayor Greenlaw, $700 represents the township's minor variance application fee. That's a rate that's been in effect for quite some time. It does not cover, it would not, in terms of I think the question is from a cost recovery standpoint, would that cover the review, processing, report preparation, circulation, etc., all costs incurred with processing an application of this nature? No, it would not. It also likely did not cover those costs at the time that the fee was imposed some years ago. It's not uncommon practice in municipalities for especially common applications like minor variances that might be undertaken by an average citizen for townships, municipalities, to sometimes artificially keep those fees low in the interests of providing some relief to the average person. But generally speaking, that fee would fall short of any coming close to any cost recovery in the township.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Oh, but for the environmental protection zone, would this minor variance have been required?
So to you, Mr. Chairman, the answer is no. The Big Cedar community, it's one lot within the meaning of a legal parcel. Each resident has their own site, and there are boundaries within their community, but they're not lot lines. So when we're dealing with applications in Big Cedar, we're not dealing with setbacks from lot lines, etc. So if not for the environmental protection zone, this proposed development would not trigger a minor variance. It's the only relief being sought in this case.
Thank you very much. And to follow up with that, would it just be possible to compose a bylaw that exempted Big Cedar from such a minor variance application, given the very limited set of circumstances under which such a variance and fee application is required.
To you, Mr. Chair. So that would have to be done by way of a one-off amendment to the zoning bylaw in advance of that zoning bylaw review that I described. You can't pass a bylaw to exempt from the zoning bylaw, but we could, should it be the will of council, staff could consider starting a process specific to Big Cedar. It has been staff's recommendation all along, notwithstanding that the timelines have, dragged on, but it's been staff's recommendation always to include this as one of the numerous housekeeping items that would be addressed through the comprehensive zoning bylaw review rather than a one-off.
Thank you very much. And the reason I ask is, ultimately, I think we're going to face an appeal to our official plan and possibly appeals to the zoning bylaw, which may impede our anticipated further timetable. So it might be useful for the committee to contemplate putting something, a patch in place, if you will, an amendment like that would extinguish with the eventual passing of the actual comprehensive zoning bylaw amendment from its current state. I've just put that out there for now, and we'll perhaps just proceed with the motion. Excuse me, there is Mr. Mayor would like another question, please.
So, Mr. Whitlow, when will the NBCA have time to identify exactly where the EP zones are, so that the mapping, is there a way that the NBCA can correct the mapping so at least we know what residents within that park are not included? So then if we do implement Deputy Mayor Lavoie's suggestion as a temporary fix, it would kind of clean up the process and staff time wasted on something that's unnecessary. I guess where I struggle is we've already spent the staff time preparing the report, going through the exercise when if it wasn't necessary. I'd like to see things have total cost recovery, which isn't possible on this one. But if we can at least identify what sections of the park are in the EP and exempt all the rest, so we don't have to go down this rabbit hole.
So through the chair to Mayor Greenlaw, a couple of comments there. Aside from whatever mapping was present in 1997 when the zoning bylaw was created, from a natural heritage and hazard standpoint, there is different mapping available today, and that's the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority regulatory mapping. So that I would suspect would represent the current available mapping, and that would probably represent what an EP zone, or closely approximate what an EP zone on that property would look like today if it was reviewed. The only other way to my knowledge, to further refine that would be to undertake some site-specific study, and that would, could be a combination of an examination of natural heritage features, a combination of looking at elevations, water courses, etc., see if there are any hazard risks. That sort of very on-the-ground proofing would not be within the scope of the zoning bylaw update. That would not be something that the township would initiate on its own, or that the Conservation Authority would initiate on its own. Certainly if Big Cedar as a community, as a company, wish to undertake experts to assist and provide additional information to help in that refinement, that could be considered. But I think the mapping in terms of what we know today would likely be based on the current regulatory mapping that's available to the Conservation Authority, which again is different than what was present back in the late 90s.
No, thank you. I guess the bottom line is I don't want to charge our constituents for something that they never should have had to take part in the exercise. But at the same time, I also don't want to give back money after we've incurred staff time going through the process and preparing the report. So, you know, I think the sooner we can find a solution to this, and we're not in control of every lever, the better we would all be, and it would help streamline the process. Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that discussion. Any further commentary on this application? May I have we've already read the motion, correct? I've kind of lost myself here a little bit. Just wanted to make sure.
Correct. We were just, if staff can ask for the confirmation by the mover and the seconder for the request for reimbursement in the amount of $700 be approved or respectfully denied. The mover is Councillor Schell and the seconder is Councillor Hutchinson.
And that motion would be for the purposes of
their preference of what they would like for either be approved, the request for reimbursement in the amount of $700 be approved or respectfully denied.
So you're asking them to state whether the motion states
correct their preference of whether they would prefer to, if their recommendation is to
approve the
reimbursement.
Rebate. Yes, gotcha. Yeah, I'm there now. I'm catching up slowly.
Approve.
Yes, approved.
Okay. May we have a vote on the motion? Yeah. Please.
She'll read the motion with the approved.
Yes, please read the motion with approved present in the gap.
Thank you. Moved by Schell, seconded by Hutchinson. It is recommended that the correspondence dated July 27, 2023 from Doug Humphreys, request for reimbursement, minor variance application 2023-828, Big Cedar Oral Residents Association, Angus McDonald, 4044 Line 13 North, 25 Maple Crescent be received. 2, that the request for reimbursement in the amount of $700 be approved. And 3, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Director of Development Services signature.
Thank you very much. May I have the vote, please? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Oh, we have a comment from the mayor, please.
If I can make a suggestion, Derek, I would really like to be able to see us move forward to try and find if we can find a solution. I believe your mic's reverbing, my apologies. If we can find a solution to try and eliminate us going down this path with that property, because it's been something that has come before us time and time again with Big Cedar. I don't want to be unfair to the residents, but at the same time, I don't want us putting our staff through a process of hours of preparing reports when it's unnecessary. So if we can find a solution, that would be fantastic. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for that comment, and we look forward to the solution. The next meeting date is Wednesday, September 6th, 2023, and we all look forward to seeing you again. Thank you very much, and for that, can I call for a motion to adjourn?
Moved by Greenlaw, seconded by Schell. It is recommended that we do now adjourn at 6:50 p.m.
All in favor? That's a resounding unanimity. The motion is carried. Thank you, everyone. Mayor Greenlaw, over to you for the council meeting following the Development Services Committee.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. And that is, I want to thank you for a very efficient process. You give you a gold star for that. But anyways, may I call this council meeting to order? Madam Deputy Clerk, may I please have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
Moved by Young, seconded by Shell. Be it resolved that the agenda for the council meeting of Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023 be received and adopted as amended to withdraw item 5A, bylaw number 2023-073.
All in favor? That is carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest at this time? Seeing none, may we please have a motion for the draft minutes of the previous council meeting, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Hutchinson, seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that the draft minutes of the council meeting held on Wednesday, July 5th, 2023 be received and adopted as printed and circulated.
Are there any changes? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. May we please have a motion to approve the recommendations of tonight's DSC meeting, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Lavoie, seconded by Young. Be it resolved that the recommendations of the Development Services Committee meeting held on Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023 be adopted.
All in favor? That is carried. The bylaws, Madam Clerk, they're to be withdrawn with the adoption, correct? So we'll
Correct.
move on to item 6. May we please have a motion for the confirmation bylaw?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2023-074, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, be engrossed by the deputy clerk, signed and sealed by the mayor.
All in favor? That is carried. May we please have a motion for the well, that was the confirmation bylaw. Could we all have a motion to adjourn, please?
Moved by Young, seconded by Hutchinson. Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 6:53 p.m.
And before I call the vote, I want to wish everybody a safe, long weekend, and a reminder to everybody the Chamber of Commerce Farmers Markets tomorrow. So if you get a chance, drop by, and hopefully the weather cooperates. Okay. So all in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much and have a great weekend.